It is Friday, December 13th. I am Geoff Schwartz. That is Matt Ford. This is Geoff Schwartz is Tomorrow and You, where we cover the National Football League for Sunday and Monday. Talk a little bit about Thursday Night Football. We give you our It is Friday, December 13th. I'm Geoff Schwartz. That is Matt Ford. This is Geoff Schwartz is Smarter Than You, where we talk about the National Football League, other things that cross our mind. We will go through the games as usual. We'll try to pick five winners for you guys. Been a little tough this year, Matt. 33, 36, and 1. We're not winning our battle against Nick Wright, the battle he doesn't even know that we're having right now with his show. Hopefully, I can get him to acknowledge that when I see him this week in New York City. So we'll do that as usual. We're sponsored by Greg Morris Cards. We'll talk more about Greg later in the show, but just want to make sure you guys have that QR code on the screen. You go to Greg Morris Cards and be able to get the value of your cards as holiday season approaches. I know we have you guys have cards sitting around. You want to know how much they're worth? Your little extra dollars. Go to Greg Morris Cards. You can scan the QR code here if you're watching on social media or on YouTube, or if you go back and watch your show on YouTube at Geoff Schwartz, at Geoff Schwartz's channel. Go find me. Pretty easy to find. Matt, before we get started here, we were talking behind the scenes about I'm going to a holiday party tonight. And when people ask what I do, I played NFL 8 years ago, so I don't say NFL player anymore. I say podcast host. It's very pretentious to say that. What do I say that sounds like I have a real job?
Huh. Well, I mean, I don't know if I would stop playing up the NFL thing if I'm you. Like when I say like, oh, I'm a producer, and they're like, oh, what do you produce? And I'm like, I don't know, just like some sports stuff. Like, no, you don't care. Like that's less fun than like, well, I used to play in the NFL and now I talk about football for a living. Like you actually have a cool job. Like you have like a cool I'm just like a guy. Like no one gives a shit about me. But you have experience. You have things you can regale people with. Like, that's nice.
I guess I can. What if you were to if someone were to ask you, Matt, like what's the biggest podcast you work on? Don't say my podcast, but I guess it's our podcast at this point. What do you like? What's the one you mentioned? Like, which is the one you're like, yeah, that do this one?
Probably Nick's.
Yeah.
We mentioned Nick Wright already. We do that one. Geoff was on Annie Agar's show this week, The
Yeah.
Offensive Line, which is a great show. Nominated for a Sports Podcast Award. Shout out to that
Oh,
show.
nice.
Um, yeah, it's I mean, we have, we're proud of all the stuff we make. I mean, for me, it's like I used to, produce some TV shows, and people ask like how I got into this. I'm like, well, I used to work on, Good Morning Football or Garbage Time or whatever. And they're like, well, that's cool. Like, what are you doing now? And like I understand like a bunch of podcasts, it's not as prolific as being in the NFL maybe, or some other things, but it's all in how you pitch yourself, dude.
It is all how you pitch yourself. We're going to try to pitch ourselves a winning weekend here, Matt. The Chiefs keep letting us down. We should probably stop wagering on them
Yeah.
at all times, and or the Steelers that are going to. I feel like that game this weekend is going to cause us a little bit of a discussion here moving
Uh-oh.
forward.
The
And I'm going to
Steelers are
have
in the
to,
mix.
and I'm going to have to just bite the bullet and take the Steelers, even though I don't want to. All right, Matt. For those who are unaware, what we do here, we go over every NFL game. We try to pick five sides essentially against the spread numbers. We may skip your game, like Jacksonville and New York Jets. If you came to hear about that game, probably won't hear much except us just take Jacksonville +3 because that's what we have to do and give no analysis whatsoever. If you're looking for that podcast, I don't want to turn you away, but I'm sure there's like jetsfandom.com. You can go find that one, but we'll go through all the big games. There's a lot of big ones this weekend. Matt, which one are we
Yeah.
starting with?
Well, that's a great point. One thing Nick, I want to say did end up taking the Jets, so we have a chance to go against him
Oh,
there. I
really?
shout outs quickly to our friends at Cooler, Cooler.fm. You can sign up. They're sort of just testing out their new app. Really cool way to sort of share your podcasts. You see it on the screen there. Coolerfm.fm. Use code Geoff, and you can join us, ask us questions. We'll be
Yes.
happy to read and engage with you guys. I
If you
did
want
want
to
to
comment
say.
about the podcast, by the way, go to use the Cooler app. Like, yes, you can tweet me or tweet Matt or Instagram DM, but like the one way to get us, if you have a comment about any of our picks, if you want to fade us, tail us, any questions, go to Cooler. I'll answer them for you. You can just put them in the little chat section for every podcast episode.
Yeah, definitely. So check us out there. A bunch of good shows are on Cooler now. So shout out to them. We're excited about what they have to offer. All right. The week 15. Can you believe it? Week 15
I know, right,
games.
buddy?
Let's start with the one in your backyard. The Panthers are favorites for the first time in 34 games. They are laying 2.5 to the dead Dallas Cowboys. Is it time to get on the Panthers bandwagon, Geoff? Is now the
Okay.
moment?
So this is the classic. Why is the line 2.5? Because I think this game is more of a pickup, Matt, right? Like I don't think that the
Wow.
Panthers are that much better than the Cowboys, even though they played better football lately. Um, they have the same sort of roster problems that the Cowboys have with injuries and some of their best players not being able to play. But the Panthers have played better football recently. So when I see a line like this, I think to myself, does Vegas have it right? Are they telling us, Matt, the Panthers are the right side here? I think they are, Matt. I think the Panthers -2.5 is the right side in this game because they're telling you, like, hey, I think it's a pick 'em, but it's 2.5 for a reason, guys. And look, the home field advantage in Carolina is not very much, especially against the Cowboys. But a ton of Cowboys fans will be there. But think about the psyche of the Cowboys. They beat the Commanders, they beat the Cowboys, excuse me, the Giants. Oh my God, we're in the playoff hunt, and then lose the
Right.
way they lost against the Bengals on a short week. Michael Parsons walking off the field like he did. Panthers are feeling good. They're due for a nice quality National Football League win. It happens this weekend, Matt.
I agree. I was interested in where you're going to go with this. But I like the Panthers too. I mean, I think situationally, like you mentioned, this is just like a rough spot, right? Like the Cowboys have had this roller coaster of a season. They got a glimmer of hope after, a couple of games that they maybe could have lost, but then they get into this heartbreaking loss last week. Now they have to travel east to play this team that like they're not fired up to play against, right? Like this is just not a good spot for a guy like, Cooper Rush to go and lead the team to a big victory over
Correct.
the Panthers. That's
Yes.
pointless. And the Panthers are trying. Like the Panthers are playing hard. Like you can tell like Bryce Young is using this as a moment to revitalize his career. Hubbard just got that extension. He looks awesome. This Cowboys run defense is really going to be compromised this week. I think Carolina is a smart play here, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but I just don't see Dallas getting up for this one. And I think Carolina like genuinely wants to win and wants to show out here and can against a banged up Dallas
I'm
defense, especially.
agreed. Put Carolina, sign me up, buddy.
Carolina, what could go wrong?
Everything.
-2.5 against the Cowboys. All right, so moving right along to the Chiefs, who are laying 4 in Cleveland.
Ugh,
The Browns +4 would be the side if we were to engage with this one, correct?
I think so. Who knows? The Browns are so unstable right now. Um, yeah, it's the Browns +4, but I mean, the way Jameis is playing, I guess maybe. I mean, Jameis could not cover this game himself with some of the way he's played the last couple of weeks. I mean, that last week was brutal being on the Browns in that game as we were, Matt. So, yeah, it has to be Browns are bust here, but I got nothing for this. I don't want to play this one.
There's still a 4.5 out there at FanDuel. That's a little bit more appealing. Yeah, I mean, this is the case for Cleveland here would be, the Chiefs' offensive line being banged up. The Chiefs just another game where like, are they really going to get up for this one? The Browns have played some good games at home. They seem to sort of be up and down in their effort, right? Like some weeks it seems like they really, bring it, and some weeks it seems like they really don't. Last week we liked them. They didn't really show up. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's a chance that they
Yeah.
still end up covering this, but it's not my favorite. Let's
I,
let's put it in the maybes.
I'll give you just the one chief stick I have, Matt, is interesting here. They were up double digits in 3 straight games now, and the games were close. Like, I maybe don't think they're as bad as they look with the results. I mean, again, like how many teams are up 20-6, 13-0, 16-3, and it just looks like they just don't care anymore, Matt. So I don't think about Kansas City. I just would stay away from this one.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, right. Well, I'll put it in the maybes in case we don't get to 5. What do you think about Dolphins Texans here? Texans off of a bye. They're laying 3 at home to the Dolphins, who I feel like everyone kind of forgets about the Dolphins. Like everyone thinks that they're going to round into form
Yeah.
here. I'm not really sure what to make of either of these teams, so I'm curious if you have a take in this one.
I will I'll be happy to take Houston here if you have the lean with me on Houston. They're off a bye, Matt, which I think is important. They're a good coaching staff and they're able to sort of look in the mirror and say, hey, we got to start throwing the ball a little bit on offense, right? Like we have to use our offense better. Yeah, offensive line's a problem, but let's figure out a way to make it better. They did lose one of their safeties, I think, safety or corner to injury, which is going to hurt them a lot. But the Dolphins, though, I mean, it's beating a lot of bad football teams, right? It's the Raiders, it's the Patriots, it's a Jets team that they should have lost to last weekend.
Yep.
Their offense is so reliant on what it feels like on the run game, and Jonnu Smith all of a sudden, it's not a very complex offense. Like I feel like the Texans defensively have had 2 weeks to prepare for this team. Texans are at home. I like the Texans here. Plus, I was looking at the numbers. I mean, there's a lot of public money on Miami this weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually think, I mean, I feel like we've been in this spot a bunch of times where we've kind of been interested in backing the Dolphins. Tua is a underdog. He is 2-8 straight up in his last 10 as an underdog.
Wow.
When he plays on the road or neutral site against a team that's above 500, he is 2-12 straight up in his career, losing by an average of 14.9 points per game. That's according to our friend Evan at Action Network. The Dolphins, I just feel like, are coasting off of this goodwill from last year and the assumption, sort of like San Francisco, that everyone had, that they're just going to bounce back. Like they're just going to be one of these teams that's going to figure it out because of the infrastructure, the coaching, whatever. They just haven't. And what concerns me a little is the Texans have a pretty vulnerable pass defense. Could be a week where the Waddles, the Hills, the Jonnu Smiths could pop off, but I feel pretty comfortable with Houston here off the bye. Like I actually believe in them figuring it out much more. So I think there's a little bit of value on Houston here, who everyone seems to be a little disappointed in this year.
I agree. And again, the buy is important here, right? Like, this is a super late buy, and they have a good coaching staff.
Yeah.
Um, And I really think that they'll use this bye to get their team right
I do
and sort of
too.
make this postseason push.
I do too. Um, all right. Well, we've talked about three games and we have a side in all three, even if we don't love the Browns one. Um, Bengals Titans. I feel like everyone just can't get off of the Titans. They are the worst team against the spread this year, which is a surprising thing with the Jets and the Cowboys, the way they've played. They are catching 4.5 to 5 at home against Cincy. Uh, man, I don't think I have the stomach to take the Titans here.
No, I don't. I think we just I think we just skip the Titans. I don't like this either. The Bengals have pretty much been covered the bad football team this year. They can't beat anyone with a pulse, and that Tennessee loss last weekend was as bad as they get. I mean, how are they going to play this weekend? I don't think they're gonna be up for this one. The Bengals are still in it. Like they have a lot to gain. So I would lean. I actually lean Bengals here.
Yeah, I would too, but I don't love it. Um, all right, I think we can pass this one safely. Speaking of passes, the Commanders are heading to New Orleans to play someone named Jake Hayner and the Saints offense. The Commanders are laying 7.5, also off a bye. Can't possibly take the Saints, so I think this is just a no discussion.
Really? You're not gonna no Commanders -7 here?
7.5?
No,
Is there
that's
a
a terrible. It's
seven?
a terrible bet.
It's a
No
brutal
chance.
bet.
No chance. Um, no, I don't. Jeez. I mean, we're gonna look up and this game's gonna be 35-7, and we're gonna text each other like, why don't we just bet on this game?
I know.
Right?
I
Right?
know. This does feel like the one that I'm a little nervous because I feel like Washington either makes this huge statement and they come out and it's like, wow, they're 9-5 and they've blown out all the bad teams they've played and they get Philly next week, who we'll talk about Philly in a minute. Or they could just kind of limp out like the way that they've done the last couple of weeks, the Titans game notwithstanding. So uh I don't know. Interesting. Marshawn Lattimore is going to play in this one, so a little
Yeah.
revenge spot for him, which is fun, but I think it's a pass. Uh, all right, you mentioned Jets Jags already. The Jags are catching 3.5 at home. The Jets have been favored in 10 games this year, Geoff, and they are 3-10. Shocking.
Buddy, do we just blindly take
No,
Jacksonville here?
no, can't do it. Cannot take Jacksonville. The 3.5 is a little bit tempting. I like, uh,
So can I make the case for Jacksonville here for a second?
go ahead.
Um, I mean, look, they showed a lot of fight last weekend in an ugly game against Tennessee. Like they're still playing obviously very hard, clearly. And the Jets have blown every game out. Like they get up lead and then just stink it up down the stretch. Like what are the Jets playing for? I mean, the Jags aren't playing for anything either because Doug Peterson's gonna be fired. But I like the fight the Jaguars showed last weekend. Again, against a bad Titans team. But
Oh,
I mean, 3.5 when the entire country's on the Jets is the way to go. But we can skip it. I put it in the maybes. I just wrote it down for us. I wrote it down for us in case we need it. Um, I guess I'd rather take the Browns +4, but than the Jags. But let's just put it down just in case. Let's put it down just in case, Matt. It's a wager we
yeah.
always make. It's probably why we suck this year because it's a wager we always make and doesn't come home.
Peterson 7-2 this season as an underdog against spread. Um,
Not
a
bad.
little confusing though. Mac Jones, fourth worst at a quarterback since 2003 as an underdog. And if he loses this, doesn't cover this one, um, that would make him the second worst of all time. Or yeah, I think of since 2003, the second
Wow.
worst quarterback as an underdog. Can you
Is that good
guess
or
the
bad?
I think that's bad. Do you think who do you think the worst quarterback against the spread is as an underdog? Do you know?
Yes, Derek Carr.
No, that's as a favorite. This is
Oh,
as
underdog, underdog. Oh, Daniel Jones,
Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler.
Interesting, right?
Nice pull. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
fun one. All right. So maybe on the Jags, God help us if we end up having to take the Jacksonville Jaguars and Mac Jones. Uh, how about the Giants catching 16.5 at home to Baltimore? Um, I don't even think this is a teaser candidate for either side. Like if the Giants, if the Ravens end up winning this game, like they could win it by 50. Like quite honestly, like it could be one of those Baltimore games. I don't know though. What do you think? Do you feel the stomach to back DeVito
Giants
catching three
team, Giants
touchdowns.
team total under 13 and a half is my wager in this game. Um, let's fade the old DeVitos. He's not good. He's not good. But Matt, to be fair, the Ravens have had problems in these moments over the years. They've had them at home more often than on the road. But, oh my guy, these Ravens have had these problems, haven't they?
They have. Um, but this is them off of a bye again. We've talked about that a few times. Baltimore hasn't had one of those games this year since weirdly the Buffalo game where they've just dismantled a team. And this could be the spot where they do that. This also could just be they play the Steelers next week on a Saturday. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to like empty the whole playbook here and show up against the Giants. Like next week is a really important game. And
What's the
then
number? 16?
16 to 16 and a half. And then remember,
Ahead
after
of
the Steelers game, that's on Saturday. Then they have a quick turn and play on Wednesday at the
Man.
Texans on Christmas. So this is a look ahead spot, but this could also just be like give Derrick Henry the ball for 3 hours and let him get back on the 2,000-yard pace.
So
Like
so
it
what
could be
is
that.
what's the number or the score if the Giants cover like 28-13, 27-13, like that? Or did the
Right.
Ravens have to score like in the low 20s for the Giants to cover this game? Like, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's probably and then probably the Ravens take their starters out if they're up like 20 to, if they're up
And
like
back, we
28
get the
nothing.
Vito backdoor cover, yeah.
Right.
No, I don't
Um,
want to play it, but I'm certainly curious how in my mind they get there. Like that you have to do the math in your head, right? When you have these big numbers. Like how is that how do they get to this number? Yeah, I'm gonna pass, I think.
Giants haven't covered in seven, or no, they covered
Wait,
last week.
you
That was
like
their
the
first
Panthers or do you
cover.
like the I mean like the Giants or Ravens? Pick if you were to pick one to cover the spread. You like the Ravens, huh?
No, I think I would just take the Giants and just say
Yeah.
like, um,
Tease them up to 22 and a half.
it's like I don't even see the value there. Like, you know what I
There's no
mean? Like,
value.
there's
It,
none, which is
the
so
old, the
crazy.
old, the old five dimes, 16-point teaser. I think we could be comfortable up at 30, but right now I don't think I could do that.
This is the largest home. The Giants have never closed as a 14 plus point home underdog in the last 50 years. Isn't that crazy?
Do you think there's sharp money come Sunday on the Giants? There has to be, right? This is a big
Probably,
number. Yeah,
probably.
not from us.
It's gross. It's gross. Um, all right, let's talk about Pittsburgh and Philly. Great game. The Eagles are laying 5 to Pittsburgh in Philadelphia. We are always in the mix on the Steelers. Are we going to be in on them this week?
Let me hear. Make the case. Let's hear it.
Okay, well, I mean, we'll do the obligatory. I'll just control F Mike Tomlin here. He is 64-35-4 as an underdog. The Steelers are both 5-0 straight up and against the spread as underdogs this season. Can you believe that? Every single time they're an underdog, they've won. Um, with a win percentage of 75% or higher, Tomlin is 4-1 against the spread when he has been an underdog in his career. I think so. Obviously, like we talk about Tomlin as an underdog all the time. When you look back at the Eagles' last couple of weeks, they should have lost to the Panthers. Their wide receiver and their quarterback are in a fight like that has spilled out into the media. Their vibes are horrific. They beat the Ravens in a game where Justin Tucker basically gave that game away along with some other like very silly mistakes. And then before that, nice wins against Rams Commanders, but like other than that, they haven't had like a really good win against a team like
Yeah,
this all season. And I think that Pittsburgh, I think the Pickens thing I think is big for Pittsburgh, but I feel like it looks like he's not going to
yeah,
play, but that's
yeah. That's
priced in
unlikely.
here, right?
Yeah,
Like I
it
think that
is.
that
Yes,
is
but
100%
yeah, but I
in the
mean,
mix here.
it's a half a point or a point, right? Like it might be
Totally.
in our mind, it might be differently priced. Okay, a few things here. Obviously, the Mike Tomlin underdog thing is certainly true and it works, and the motivation seems to work here. Um, I like AJ Brown, by the way, over 5.5 receptions. It's my best bet on my Bear Bets podcast. I like taking wide receivers when they call out the team. for more catches, they typically get those catches because quarterbacks want to make them happy. Unless you're Debo Samuel, who drops every ball, you typically catch those footballs,
Yeah.
Matt, and you go over your reception total. And it's happened to Pickens this year, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. Like every time that someone's like, we need to get that guy the ball, but get him the ball next game. So worth
Yep.
noting, AJ Brown over. Um, the Steelers, in my opinion, have to ugly the game up to cover, right? Because Philly has an offensive line that can block their defensive line. They have Saquon Barkley. They have Smith and Brown and Goddard. And on defense, the defense is plenty good enough for the Steelers to not score any points. So we normally blindly bet Mike Tomlin as underdog. Matt, I don't know if we can do mentally. I can get there in this game. I don't know if you feel great about Pittsburgh in this game. I really don't, but I haven't felt great about it all season. I've been looking like a dummy all season. So I think the Eagles are better. If this game was 28-17, would that surprise you for the Eagles to win? Not
Kind of.
me. It would?
It kind of would, yeah. And for the
Okay.
record, the point total here, the
It's 40.
over under is 43.
Yeah.
So that would be a surprise for Vegas. I mean, I think the point total is reflective of what what Vegas thinks. And I think the Eagles are this really public team that has looked amazing at times, but they haven't played this kind of defense probably all season. And yeah, I mean their last like who is the best defense they've gone against? Is it Cleveland in the
Who,
beginning of the
Eagles?
season? Yeah, honestly.
Uh, yeah, probably not many. So you're on Pittsburgh's one of your favorite ones for the week?
I just think, I mean, look, I feel like every week I want to take Pittsburgh, but like this is the spot where you take them. And I think, to your point, like they are going to muddy it up. They don't have Pickens. This is going to be a grinded out game.
Yeah.
And, I think Pittsburgh is going to try to make Hurts beat them. And I think that they're going to, do everything they can to stop Barkley and try to keep this one close and turn it into a one possession game like they seem to always do. Um, Also, Jalen Hurts as a favorite is just about 500. But he tends to be better actually when the opponents are good, which is bizarre. He's worse when he's a big favorite over bad teams. So I
Interesting.
don't know.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty, if you're going to take a side in this, you have
Yeah.
to take Pittsburgh, but if you don't love it, we don't have to put it in.
No, I mean I put in the maybes, and this is a wager we do always make. Something to consider here, and you guys should consider Greg Moore's Cards, our friends who sponsor
Yeah.
this podcast here. Everyone's looking for a few extra bucks around the holidays. What if you were sitting on money you didn't even know about? My friends at Greg Moore's Cards are leaders in vintage sports cards that can help you turn the sports cards collecting dust in your house into real money for the holidays. I know, Matt, you have some sports cards. You've talked to Greg Moore's Cards. What have you learned?
Yeah. I mean, they've been a real help. I mean, they've given me some options. There's lots of things I can do with my cards. I need to I need to go get the rest of them, which are all at my mom's house on the East Coast. But I mean, it's really cool what they do. They get you the best price. Like they're out there in the market. Like they're known for being the most customer friendly. Great guys. They've been super fun to work with. So thanks to them for the
Yeah.
sponsorship.
It's been fun to work with them over this last month and get to know this business and be able to check our cards and see what they're worth. And as we mentioned, get some extra money around the holidays. And look, everyone, you guys know this. You have sports cards lying around. You can find out today what they're worth by contacting Greg Morris Cards to help you earn the most for your cards. Turn your card collection to real money today. Scan the QR code on the screen here if you're watching on social media or on YouTube, or visit Greg Morris Cards. You can also, again, just if you're listening to such thing in a podcast form, take a step down, go find us on YouTube, go find the QR code. So thank you for Greg Morris Cards for being along with us over the last month. All right, Matt, what do we got here?
Cool. All right. The next game is the Broncos and the Colts. Broncos are laying 3.5 or 4 to the Colts. Why am I scared of this one? This one just doesn't feel interesting to me, but like I do feel like Denver isn't a bad bet here, is it?
I know a lot of sharp groups on the Colts this week, which I don't know if that matters to you, but they hit the
Hmm.
Colts pretty early in the week.
Interesting.
I think it's more just like maybe Colts off a bye need this win more, but I don't like it. I'll be quite honest. Sometimes I have buddies who send me their wagers that are sharp groups, sharp people. They love the Colts, man. Um, Money's on Denver, tickets on Denver. I mean, all the signs of which we typically don't like to make, but I don't. A lot of times I can make like a reason for liking a team that someone sends me that I trust in this situation. I don't know what it is in this one. I took it because he told me to, but that's different than your contest picks, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the reason is for it.
I don't either. I mean, it's Denver off a bye. It's that.
They're both off a bye, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The Colts are. I, I don't know. I mean, the Colts are a tough team for me to figure out. They kind of are up and down. Um, but it's possible that just the market's really high on these Broncos who have been on a bit of a tear, and people are putting Bo Nix into the conversation with my guy Jaden Daniels, which is insane. Um, so I don't know. I don't feel a big advantage here. It's interesting that the sharp groups are on the Colts. There is a
Yeah.
4.5 out there for if we were curious about Indianapolis, but I do not have a lean here.
I had nothing on this one. No.
Yeah. All right. Uh, Whether we are picking this game or not, we'll definitely have something to discuss here. Buffalo is at Detroit in the next installment of the game of the year. Detroit opened, I think, is 1.5. They're up to 2.5 now, pretty much everywhere. I think it's a consensus now. Do you have a side here?
Yeah, Buffalo's going to win this game. So I'll
I
be
think so
very happy
too.
taking Buffalo plus 2.5.
Yeah.
We called this last week with the Rams, right? In the Bills. We nailed that game. It's funny how like we nailed that game and then the Bears game, we were the exact opposite. We completely unnailed that game. Which is the fun of the way gambling works, right? Um, look, the Bills defense will play better. They were embarrassed their last game, right? They're going to play better. That's just the natural, regression to the mean of NFL football players. But one of the things, same reason we took the Rams last weekend, Matt, is the Bills were itching for a loss. Detroit's itching for a loss. They're ready for it. If they go 2 and 5 on fourth down, they lose to the Packers. So they went 4 for 5 on fourth down, right? Their defensive injuries are really concerning. They got a few guys back this week, but not enough to make that big of a difference. They also don't play running quarterbacks terribly well. And Josh Allen's not a running quarterback, but a very mobile quarterback. I just think the Bills just play better this weekend than they did last week, especially on defense. And so I like Buffalo to win this game, which means I certainly like them to cover. So I'll take 2.5. We're not getting 3 either, so I'm fine with 2.5.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a bit of a Lions fade too.
Yes,
Here's how you
absolutely.
here's how you can tell. Like Josh Allen's going to win MVP this year. Like that's going to happen. There's a chance if Lamar were to win out, maybe that he would be able to steal it from Josh Allen. But the whole Saquon debate was adorable, and now the latest one is Jared Goff. And people are sort of saying like, well, if he wins this game against Josh Allen, like maybe he's the MVP. It's like that's a bubble talking, right? Like we're at the point where we're saying that Jared Goff is MVP. He's not. He's had a nice year. He's been very efficient. But I think that this is one of those weeks where it's like, oh, right. Like the Lions aren't 100% right there quite yet. And Buffalo
Agreed.
coming off a loss, as you
Agreed.
mentioned. The other thing is I'm sorry, Detroit has not played a real offense in quite a while. And we haven't seen the Packers notwithstanding. And by the way, that game was super close, came down to the last possession and an interesting call at the end of the game. Um, we haven't seen the Lions defense have to play against a team like this. So I have some doubts that they'll be able to keep pace with Josh Allen in general. So I agree. I think Buffalo money line is a really nice play too. I agree with you. I think they're going to win this game.
All right. We have like 4, by the way. I think we feel
Yeah,
good
at
about. I didn't think we
least.
get there. And there's one more there's one I really like and one that I almost like just to get your reaction. So
Yeah, I mean
we'll
maybe
see how
it's
we go
this
here.
one. It's the Chargers in the Bucks. Could this be
No,
one?
no, not this one. No, no, no.
Interesting.
Why? Who do you like?
The line is 2.5 or 3. There is a 2.5
Are
out
we
there
going?
for
We're going
for
back to
a
Tampa Bay,
DraftKings. I
or you
like
like
the
the?
Chargers here. Shocker, I know, but I actually think the Chargers are the right side in this one.
Oh,
Tampa is I think flying a little bit too high. And the reason for that, first of all, they're super banged up. Like Evans is going to play, but he's been banged up. Mayfield's been banged up. I just want to go through the Bucks schedule here. So they beat the Raiders, they beat the Panthers in overtime, they beat the
okay.
Giants, They lost to the Niners. They lost that overtime game to the Chiefs. They lost to the Falcons. They lost to the Ravens. Like, granted, they were really banged up in those games, but
Yes. Yeah.
they are traveling across the country to this Chargers team that doesn't turn the ball over ever. The Bucks have
No.
had one of the luckiest years in terms of their turnovers. I think I heard a stat that they've fumbled the ball 16 times and lost it 5 times. Like, they've won a
Well,
bunch of games with these
those
like
are
really
50-50 typically.
fluky
Yeah.
missed field goals, like
The Panthers
a
game.
bunch
Yeah.
of really bad teams. So I just think that the Bucks are just a little bit overrated. And meanwhile, this Chargers defense has been dominant. And I feel like, if anything, the Chargers are flying a bit under the radar right now. They're getting McConkey back most likely. They had that sort of weird game against Atlanta, that, the loss to Baltimore. But like, this is what the Chargers do. They beat teams that aren't as good as them. They can't
Yeah.
beat anyone better than them ever. But all they can do is, take, this Bucks team that's compromised and traveling across the country, I think is just in a tough spot against a really physical defense.
Oh, I didn't expect the Chargers to be here.
I know
Um,
I never want to take the Chargers, but I think that they're, uh, I don't know, that weirdly Baker is awesome on the road, 12-4 on the road with the Bucks, which is a little surprising, but I just think the Chargers are way better.
well, I'm like, I don't know what to say. I didn't prepare for this game. I didn't think we had anything. Okay, I mean, what about Herbert's ankle? Does that worry you at all? No, what about McConkey? Like, I just there's oh,
McConkey, I think, is going to play. Let's see what his latest was. I think he practiced.
okay.
Um,
Well, let's put him in the maybes then. I didn't expect this one. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't have much prepared for this game. I didn't think we'd have much to do here.
yeah, well, it's because I never own the Chargers.
Correct.
He was limited on Thursday. Um,
Well, they're in the maybes.
yeah, okay, well, I'll take that. Uh, okay, so then there, interesting. I was pretty sure that that was going to be the one that you liked, but there's one more. All right, Patriots at Cardinals.
Okay, just we remember the disclaimer at the start of the show where we just say we're just gonna skip
Time
games we
saver.
don't. Yeah, we're gonna hit the disclaimer button. Let's move it to the next game.
Yes, there are other podcasts that will talk at length about the Patriots.
If you listen to those, God bless you.
Every member of sports media except us came from Boston, so you can find that somewhere else. The Sunday night game. This is one we like, right? The
Yes,
Seahawks
yeah,
are catching points. 2.5 is the latest
yeah.
line at
I wish it was
home.
3, but it is two
I
and a
know it
half.
was 3 yesterday. You got to
Um,
take Seattle in this. I was
oh,
stunned by this line.
no chance. I mean, no, I'm sorry. No, yeah, not yes, yes. Seattle plus just 2.5 is the one I liked. Yeah. Look, is Seattle played well last weekend after we talked about sort of 2 straight games where they kind of got lucky with some turnovers and whatnot. But this is it's a tough place to play, right? It's a tough place to play. Packers off that loss against the Lions. Defense didn't look great. Now back on the road again. And Seattle is fighting for the division. Like the Packers are out of the division now. I'm not saying they're not going to play hard. We know they're going to play hard, but they're out of the division. Like they have lost tiebreakers to the Lions. So I like Seattle here plus the points. It's a good spot for the Seahawks. Sharps have been hitting Seattle as well this week, which is important to note. Doesn't mean they always win, but important to know. I feel like a lot of people will be on the Packers because they think they're going to bounce back. And I've been behind the Packers all year as well,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's a bounce back spot for them. Give me Seattle. I mean, 3 would have been fantastic. We don't get 3, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't. I don't think that people are really taking into account how good Seattle's defense has been the last couple weeks. I mean, there were some really goofy plays in that Jets game. But they played the Cardinals twice. They held them to 24 in 2 games. They held the 49ers to 17 on the road. Like they've gotten healthier. Those defenses sometimes with the scheme heavy coordinators, as McDonald in this case, like, it takes a while for them to gel. And I think these teams are just about a coin flip. And, Green Bay I just didn't understand like why Green Bay would be favored here. Like if it was, Seattle is a short home favorite, like then I think we'd have to like really look in the mirror before taking this.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like I was really surprised by this line.
So
Like
was
I would
I.
have guessed that it would be at least 2 or 3 points in the other direction. So um, I don't know. This season LaFleur has not covered a game against a team over 500. He's traditionally very good at that. But this year the Packers are 0-3-1 against the spread against the Lions, Texans, and Vikings.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, and you mentioned Seattle is a tough place to play. They haven't been great there
No,
lately.
they haven't been. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
But I mean, if anything, that helps us. I think it's probably a regression candidate. I don't know. I like Seattle. I think it's a
So do
smart
I.
play.
So do I. I'm with you. I agree.
Uh, all right, we've got the two Monday night games.
No
I
one
feel like
asked for
when did
this.
this happen? Like when? And by the way,
No
they're
one
both
asked.
terrible games.
No one asked for
Uh,
this.
so first is the Vikings hosting the
Yeah.
Bears. Full touchdown for the Vikings, 7. Uh,
Guys, do a Vikings Bills teaser. Just be that's what you
ooh,
do.
and Commanders.
Oh, should we do one? Should we do one for the show like we
Yeah,
normally
let's do
do?
one. Let's do one.
So we got Commanders. I hate to go in that direction though. Commanders,
It's just a win.
Bills. Do we do Steelers?
So here's the theory I have. How about this one? I think, so there's for, anyone listening at this point is aware of what you do with your teasers, right? You don't ever cross the 0 on the teaser because you lose value on a couple of points. I think that rule should actually fall out of favor with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think teasing the Chiefs through 0 is like the safest bet you can make because they never cover but always win. So it's like a nice way to just make them
Interesting.
slight underdogs.
Interesting.
So like you're losing the value of the 0 and whatever. I understand all that, but I kind of feel
Oh,
like teasing the Chiefs back through so that they're +2
it's
against
basically just you're saying that it's a money. Including a money line and a teaser.
essentially, yeah. But you're basically it's like the Chiefs aren't going to lose to the Browns, but they're going to win by 2. So you might as well just bump it back to, just crossing
Yeah.
the 0 to give them a
So
plus.
what about Chiefs, Commanders, Bills, Steelers, Seahawks, Vikings?
Steelers, Seahawks. Yeah, dude, I love that. Let's do
That's
it.
a 6 point plus 550.
I love that.
Okay, done.
Oh,
So that's how you play the Vikings. Just throw them in a teaser. That's
yeah.
what you do this weekend for the Vikings.
Yeah, they're
All
not
right,
going to lose.
Matthew.
We're not touching this game.
Okay,
Jeff is trying to butter me up to take the Raiders +4 against the Falcons on Monday Night Football, and I will not be
why
here. I will
are the
not
Atlanta
listen.
Falcons favored by 4 points over anyone in the National Football League, Matthew? The Atlanta Falcons are freaking awful.
Who's starting at quarterback for the Raiders?
Does not matter.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I will not be betting. I mean, in this case, our reputation, but my hard-earned currency on, is it Ritter?
Who cares? It's a Kirk Cousins fade.
Dude, I get it, but like that's priced in. No one's excited about the Falcons. There's not a chance we're taking whoever's starting a quarterback from the Raiders. No chance.
Well, Shadur Sanders actually got drafted this weekend.
Shedeur Sanders, yeah. You're telling me that we should, in our contest where we're trying to catch Nick Wright, bet on Desmond Ritter and Sincere McCormick? That's what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Um,
That's not happening. All right. I think we have 6. Is that right? We had 6 we liked?
well, I, I mean, if you include, so here's what I have.
Oh, and the Chargers,
I
7.
think the five we agreed upon: Carolina,
Yep.
Houston,
Yep.
Pittsburgh,
Yep.
Buffalo, Seattle.
Yeah. I mean,
You like the Chargers,
yep.
and that was about it. That was it.
Yeah, we decided to leave the Browns off. I
Correct.
mean,
And
we could get
Jacksonville.
off of the Pittsburgh thing for 1 week and take the Chargers, but it seems like we both like Pittsburgh more than that.
Pittsburgh's the right side, though. It is. You're right. God, they screw me this weekend again, like last weekend. I mean, I guess it was on the Browns last weekend. Whew. Low numbers here, right? Carolina -2.5, Houston -3, Pittsburgh +5.5, Buffalo +5.5, Seattle geez, +2.5, Seattle +2.5. Um, Matt, question: Did you, when you were living in as a youth, did you ever go to the Army Navy game? It's like in your backyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you
I
you
was
went?
born in Indianapolis. Yeah.
How fun is that game?
It's awesome.
It's
It's
this
so
weekend. I
fun.
want to go.
Yeah, it's super worth going. Like it's a really fun crowd. Like everyone just cheers for every play. Like it's like everybody's just excited to watch those two teams play.
You were born in Annapolis?
Yeah.
That's Navy, right?
Yep.
Oh, are your parents in the Navy, or you just were that's where you guys lived?
Yeah, just where we lived.
Oh, okay.
My grandfather was in the Navy.
Interesting.
Um, yeah. Hey, we didn't even talk about the game last night. It's sort of dumb to do it at the end of the show, but any takeaways from the Thursday night game of the Rams beat the
Well,
49ers by 6?
good luck paying Brock Purdy because I feel like every game they play, it gets even scarier to pay him, right? You know, I made this comment a lot when you pay, you have to pay quarterbacks, right? Like Tua had to be paid, Dak had to be paid, all these guys had to be paid. But when you pay someone that much money, the expectations of their success change, right? And so when you pay someone as much money as you're going to pay Brock Purdy, you expect him to elevate your team when things are not perfect, right? So when there's no Brandon Ayuk, when there's no Trent Williams, when there's no Christian McCaffrey, I didn't see that yesterday. Now, Debo dropping that slant as a huge problem. But what about the terrible throw the last play of the Niners game offensively? It was a terrible throw. He underthrew Pearsall. He underthrew Debo deep. Like, he didn't play that well, Matt. And in those moments, the elevating doesn't happen. So, um, I that's my takeaway. I have a Rams to win the NFC West ticket. So
Me
I'm
too.
glad plus 320, something like that. So, three between 3 and 3.5 to 1. So I'm happy about that. Look, the Rams, I'll tell you what, man, I think they're not a Super Bowl winning team, but they're about as reliable of a team as you get. Like, I think you know what you're getting when Stafford's healthy and he has his weapons with him. Like that's what you're getting. High effort on defense, execution on offense, toughness, physicality, like playing like the right way, um, whatever that means. Foe obviously felt a certain way about that answer. Even McVay, like this is kind of silly, but McVay didn't change his cold sweatshirt like in the rain. Like it's just like we're focused on football, man. We're focused on football. We're here to go kick some butt and get it done. A lot of coaches change at halftime wearing a wet sweatshirt. Like it's. I know that sounds silly. I get it, but I like their attitude. I like their mentality. It's Devondre Campbell, the
Yeah, I was
linebacker,
gonna go there.
who
Yeah.
decided not to he's going to be released or suspended. The Niners said. Cool. Can I tell you an interesting story that I had in my career around this idea of
Please.
not going to a game? All right, so the Campbell's story is different than mine because Campbell was a starter, right? Greenlaw, their linebacker towards Achilles in the Super Bowl, was the starter. He got hurt, so Campbell was brought in to start when with Greenlaw hurt. So Campbell has been starting. Okay, they tell him, "Hey, Greenlaw's back. Greenlaw's going to play." Greenlaw gets hurt. They tell Campbell to go in the game. Campbell says, "No, I don't want to play tonight." Okay, so here's my situation with the Vikings in 2012. I was rotating in 2 drives a game. It was a complete bullshit system. Sorry for my language. Where the starter was Brandon Fusco. He got 2 drives. I got 1 drive. He got 2 drives. And no matter where we were, he started the second half with 2 drives. So essentially, it ended up being I got 1 drive in the second quarter and 1 drive in the fourth quarter in a game. I played 15 to 20 plays a game. And the coach was like, "Well, why aren't you playing better?" "Well, you give me 15 plays, buddy. I mean, like you need 60 plays to play." So as the year went on, this rotation happened, and you know, I would question him like, like, what's going on, dude? Like, we just didn't get along, offensive line coach and I. So we're playing the Texans in back then it was week 16. I think it was the second last game of the season. Um, and he didn't put me in the first half. Okay. And I'll take you back. I wasn't playing great either. That's hard to play well when you get 2 drives a game as offensive lineman. Okay. He didn't put me in. We come back out of halftime. He goes, "Do you want to go in when it's your turn to go in 2 drives?" So basically, he asked me if I want to go in the fourth quarter. I said, "No, I'm not going to go in now." Um, so I get it. Okay. But our situations were different. And secondly, if someone got hurt, I would have gone in. Like that was my job. I was the backup. So I was ready to play if they needed me to play, but not some dumb rotation where I get 1 drive in the fourth quarter of a game just to say that we're keeping the rotation going. Um, so different situations. No one called me out for that. I wasn't like, the coach wasn't like, "Schwartz didn't go in the game." Someone got hurt. I was ready to play, just like I was every single game. So yeah, I mean, look, the Niners were in the game. They needed him to play, and he turned it down. Like that's a problem, Matt. He's going to be released. He's going to be cut. Um, it's not going to be good, and I don't know if he deserves that per se, but um, I don't know if he deserves that per se. Do you want to come on the podcast, Emmy? You want to ask everyone what's happening? My kids just walk in here, Matt, whenever they want. Like the lights are on, I'm talking, I'm screaming. Daughter just walks in, asks where something's at. So he's going to be released. There she is. He's going to be cut.
Abby.
Emerson, I am actually working right now. Can you give me like 3 minutes? Just wait for this part of your life, Matt.
That's
She
awesome.
texted. I'm gonna send you a picture. She texted me yesterday. Are we doing parent corner now? This is like our parent corner time.
I have a few more things to talk about this game, but yes, we can do that.
She texted me the other day, yesterday. I'm at the airport lounge. She got home from school. Hey, can you get me sushi? Order me sushi. I was like, no, I'm not. So I sent her a picture back, a selfie back of myself saying I love you. And look what she sent me back. So I sent it to you. It's unbelievably funny. Just completely like her mom. Okay, your comments on this game. Go ahead.
I'm looking at this photo now. It's loading. I need sushi with a very funny face. How funny. Shout out to Emmy. I was curious about your take on the Campbell thing. My takeaway was I Sean McVay, man, like I just don't think that I feel like Shanahan is revered, is this like amazing coach. Sean McVay like has a better winning percentage. He's 85 and
He's
55
so good.
in his career. Um, Shanahan has coached one more game. He's 78 and 63. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to two. He's done better than Shanahan by every single metric except their head-to-heads in the past where the 49ers have weirdly like had the Rams number. I just think that McVay and Stafford outside of Mahomes and Reed is the best coach quarterback combo we've got. And I think that I just don't think that McVay gets enough credit. My other question for you, Geoff, was right now, the 49ers are 13th in the draft order. Is there any world where they would take a quarterback in the first round? Like Cam Ward potentially might be there.
No. I mean, here's my I'll put this on the record now. December 13th. Purdy's not a free agent yet. I don't
He has
think.
one more
He's one
year.
more
They
year.
have to extend him. It's sort of now the custom that you extend him this
Right,
summer.
but remember he doesn't have a fifth year option. He's a seventh round pick.
Right.
Are they in the Sam Darnold sweepstakes? That's where I think they go.
Which is
Is,
hilarious
is
because
Sam
he
Darnold?
played there what a year ago, right?
Yeah,
Like
I think it's we can pay Sam Darnold 30 million a year to do the job instead of 60 million a year.
I don't think they can though. Like when you look at the construction of their team, who are they saying goodbye to? They paid Ayuk, their whole defense is paid, McCaffrey's paid, Trent's paid. Like they don't the only reason their team functions is because they pay their quarterback nothing. So in some ways, I feel like they kind of have to restart the rookie scale, whether that's a first rounder or a second or third. Like their window is
Yeah, I don't.
open only as long as they have a cheap quarterback because they've capped themselves out in every other area. Unless they're moving on from some of these guys, but it's like look at their whole team. It's just all mega stars, like all
Which
these
is
guys,
why
from Warner,
we were worried
Greenlaw, Bosa.
if they ever had got injuries. This was a problem. They'd have no depth whatsoever.
Right. And Purdy, I think Purdy is a solid quarterback. I don't think he's better than I think he's like right in the middle. Like I think him and Baker Mayfield are somewhere in the same area, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't think you can really pay him, but they need a contingency plan. They can't go and get Darnold for, a starter's salary and bid against these teams because they have to say goodbye to something else. And they can't. Like there's no they can't
Yeah,
do that.
I don't think they're going to. They need offensive linemen still, man. Like they just
Yeah, they
can't.
need some real help.
They can't do that. I think that their window is closed for Super
I think
Bowl.
it might be
Yeah,
because then they still have to deal with all this. What's McCaffrey going to be like in a year, right? Like,
I
what's
agree.
Greenlaw going to be like in
What
a
I mean,
year?
Trent
What's
Williams
Trent
is.
Williams going to be
Yeah,
like in a
yeah.
year?
I'm Fred Warner. All this. I'm with you. I
Yeah,
agree.
it's a fascinating
Um,
situation.
it is. All right, man. Anything else?
No, man, I
How's
think I
how's,
think
how's
we're
Maryland
good.
basketball doing this weekend? What's on tap
Let's
for
see, do
them?
they play this weekend?
I don't know. The
Uh,
Big Ten started their schedule already, which is kind of crazy.
yeah, Big Ten rivals, Oregon and Maryland. No, they kind of have a late schedule for a while, and then our next big game is at Oregon on January 5th.
Is it really?
Yeah, we've got some, I don't know, kind of warm-up games. Got
I think that's a
Syracuse. They're
Sunday
pretty
too.
good.
An NFL Sunday with a Maryland Oregon game.
At 1 o'clock also. How
1
funny.
Eastern?
Oh, 1 Pacific. Yeah,
Yeah,
one
what's that?
Pacific.
So
Yeah.
we'll have witching hour on my screen up here, and I'll put Oregon Maryland on a different screen.
Yeah, I love
We'll have
that.
to I'll put some money on that game. Who
Yeah,
knows?
that's great.
Couldn't name one player on either team. So that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's
All right,
right.
everyone. Have a great weekend. Check out Greg Moore's card. Check out the Cooler app. Leave a comment for us. You can scan the QR code for Greg Moore's cards. We'll be back next week on Friday, and we'll talk NFL and college. We will talk also, Matt, college football playoffs, because that is Friday night and Saturday next week. Just prepare. You don't have to prepare for that. I will talk about it. We'll cover that for you guys as well. Take care, everyone. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the football.
See you, buddy.
All right. Good work, buddy.
You
We
too,
actually have to
pal.
talk about next week. I'm flying. We have to go later next week, preferably.
On the 20th?
Yeah, I'm flying.
Yeah, pretty
I land at 1 Mountain Time.
What time is that? We could also do